The Small Business Big Marketing Show is made possible thanks to Cornerstone, an Aussie-owned, family-run offshoring business based in the Philippines, where I have just spent 2 mind-expanding weeks. Now, if the idea of reducing your running costs by 70+%, freeing up hours in your week, and generally creating more freedom in your life makes you want to scream, hell yeah, then book a free feasibility assessment with the guys at Cornerstone. Seriously, you will never, ever look back. Give them a call on 029083 6689 or visit cornerstonebusinesssolutions.com.au. After escaping the cubicle in 2008, Stone & Wood's Jamie Cook is a self-confessed corporate refugee. One who's gone on to build the largest privately owned brewery in Australia, which also happens to brew my favourite beer ever.
Yeah, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show, where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. I am your host, as per always, Timbo Reid, but you, so much more importantly, you are a motivated business owner ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. That's what we've been doing around here for 355 episodes. Today is no different. If you are new to this world, welcome. Big hugs. If you're back for your however manyth time, love your work. Thanks for sticking with us. I hope it is having a profound effect on that beautiful business of yours. Hey, big show today. Jamie Cook, co-founder of Stone & Wood, Australia's largest privately owned brewery, shares some unbelievable insights into taking risks, managing crazy growth, and some pretty solid brand building strategies. By the way, guys, just between you and I, Stone & Wood, it's my favourite beer in the world. So there's a little bit of a fanboy warning on this interview. I get a little bit gushy. Hey, I share another low-cost marketing idea, which I call Stayin Alive, my Stayin Alive content strategy. I think you're going to like that. And we go back into the archives, into the vault, revisiting a chat I had with my personal mentor, Mr. Motivation himself, Keith Abraham. As per usual, team, there is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So please, let's get stuck right in. Hey, thanks to everyone who has booked their seat so far on my upcoming 4th Create Freedom Through Outsourcing tour to the Philippines on May 1 to 3, 2017. And thank you to all those who are asking questions. It means you're interested. It means you're excited. It means there's a little bit of doubt. One of the main questions I'm getting asked is, what do we actually do? Great question, although I do think I've kind of covered that in past episodes. We check out all the offshoring options available to you, the business owner in Australia, that are available in the Philippines. We visit business process outsourcing businesses where you can hire a virtual assistant. We explain what a virtual assistant is. That'd be a good start. We go to dedicated bookkeeping agencies, marketing agencies. We visit an Aussie manufacturer who's moved over there from Brisbane and is making gazillions. He started off with one business idea. He's moved across to another because you can. It's cheap over there. We meet a university professor who takes us inside the Filipino culture and explains how to work with them and how to get the best of what are a beautiful race of people. And we hang out with hang out with 9 other motivated business owners. And you know what the best part of, I think, one of the best parts of the trip is? It's the bus time between visits, where we talk about our businesses, we share our fears and our excitements around our businesses, and we help each other along the way. You're going to get a lot of time with me to help resolve all your marketing questions. We have a lot of fun. There is karaoke involved. My go-to karaoke song, Living on a Prayer by The Jove, or Bed of Roses. Don't mind Bed of Roses by The Jove, but we have a lot of fun. You want to find out more, head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/tour, or ring Cornerstone on 029083 6689 and book your spot. Seats are limited. Small bus, small group, lots of fun. Coming up after this interview, I share 3 ideas that grabbed my attention. Plus, I've got another low-cost marketing idea for you that is going to breathe new life into your helpful content. But first, let's meet today's successful business owner. I was very excited about this. Jamie Cook, co-founder of Stayin Wood, the largest privately owned brewery in Australia, based, guessed where? In beautiful Byron Bay. I know, it's kind of weird, isn't it? Bit of a Byron theme on this show of recent months. Why shouldn't there be? It's a beautiful part of Australia. Stayin Wood's Pacific Ale also happens to be my favourite beer of all time. So there is a little bit of fanboying going on from my end during this interview. Get over it. We're all allowed to get excited about certain brands. This is one that I love. Now, I know what you're thinking. Didn't we just have a brewery owner in Peter Fielding from Burleigh Brewing on a couple of episodes ago? What makes this guy any different? It's a good question. It's a really good question. Firstly, I think these little breweries are doing some really cool marketing, and they really do get the power of branding. We can learn a lot from them. Secondly, Jamie's a really smart operator. Thanks to strong business focus and massive respect for marketing, big lesson there, Stayin Wood have a turnover of $60 million a year and a sales volume of 12 million litres annually, which is pretty good given the insanely competitive marketplace that beer is. Oh, and did I mention I love Stayin Wood? So grab your journal and a cheeky little pale ale if you have one on hand, because there really is golden hops dripping from the ceiling of this interview. Sorry, bad dad joke. I started off by looking Jamie glowingly in the eye and asking him how this wonderful brand started.
Yeah, it started back in 2008. The business started operating, but it was a couple of years before that. The 3 of us, myself, Brad Rogers and Ross Jurisic, had been working at the big breweries for a while, and I'd been brewing most of my working life, and we just really had enough of the whole corporate lifestyle and all the garbage that came with that. So the 3 of us sort of became corporate refugees. After talking about it for a couple of years, we decided it was either we had one of those moments where you either do it or get off the pot, so to speak. And so we said, well, we're going to go and do this. We'd been in the brewing industry for a number of years, all of us collectively, and had complementary skills. So we decided we want to start our own brewery. We sort of looked at where we wanted to do it. We had a sort of geographic scope between Ballina and Noosa, and we kept coming back to Byron as just being the place to do it. And I guess a lot of people ask us over the years, why Byron? And we always say,
why not?
Yeah, that's exactly the answer we usually give.
Hey, tell me, before, hold your thought there, because corporate refugees, you're not the first. You've got 2 mates who are feeling the same. There's a lot of listeners. It's funny, I always say the listeners of this show are small business owners, but I know there's also a lot of wannabe cubicle escapees. What was giving you the shits in corporate?
Yeah, oh, geez, that's a long list.
What was at the top of it?
Yeah, I think the top of it was actually lack of security. It's a funny thing. People say you work for a big corporate, it's quite a secure, you've got a job for life, so to speak. But the revolving door and the reorganisation of the place every 12 to 18 months was a point where, we were paying a lot for security because there was actually a lot of insecurity in everybody in the business. So, we thought we're probably just as secure doing our own thing. That was probably the first one, security. The second one was just the politics, and big businesses. Unfortunately, as big businesses merge and acquire things, they get bigger and bigger. They get to a point where they actually just end up doing business with themselves and forget about their customers, the drinkers. Everything else out there just becomes almost a sideshow, and it's actually about doing business with yourself, and that just becomes so frustrating and to be part of that sort of system.
You and your two business partners, you've all been in corporate. Have any of you got small business experience?
Not really. I think we've had, over the years, a couple of us might have sort of done a little few things. Many years ago, I started a little business, but my wife got pregnant and we sort of pulled the handbrake on that point, and I went back into working for somebody.
There you go. Go back into the insecurity of working for someone.
That's it. Exactly.
Figure that out. So that, I love that.
That was a long time ago, though.
What was your, therefore, beautiful. None of you have got small business experience, but you all decide, what, we're going to start one. What was your greatest fear before launching Stone and Wood in 2008?
Yeah, it's the fear of obviously putting your house on the line and upping stumps and giving it a crack. I guess the fear of the unknown a little bit. I mean, we had a very strong vision and business plan, and there was some almost inevitability about that we thought we were going to succeed. Obviously, you don't go into it if you don't think you're going to, but yeah, what was going to come up and how we were going to react to things that come up along the way, I guess, was probably some of the big fear.
When you say you had a strong vision,
you've got a lot of, I think, a lot of people, relying on you. Between us, I think collectively we have 8 kids. So that's a big thing to actually make sure that we're going to have food on the table every night.
You talk about a strong vision. It sounded like quite a driver. Could you articulate that?
Yeah, we really wanted to create a brewing business that was sort of founded on the traditional strength of the brewing industry, which comes out of European villages, where the local brewery is a key part of the local fabric. Village breweries aren't just there to brew beer; they actually help the community socialise, which is an important part of making sure your community's growing, obviously. But that we think was missing from Australia over the years for probably 60-odd years between lots of mergers and acquisitions. Mm-hmm. We ended up with 2 big brewing businesses in Australia and ripped the heart out of what really was that sort of social fabric, that connection that breweries had. And we felt we wanted to tap back into that, and a community like Byron was a great place to do it. That's probably the key vision.
Had you guys at that point in 2008 happened upon your Pacific Ale, which I'm guessing was your first brew?
Yeah,
because that's the big ticket, isn't it? That's the thing that's kind of launched Stone and Wood, right?
Yeah, that's sort of our flagship. I guess that beer came out of in the 12 months between us finding a site and then designing the brewing equipment and waiting for that to be built and shipped over to Australia. Brad, who was the brewer out of the 3 of us, up in his shed up in the hills behind Byron, had a small little brewing kit, and he was, bubbling all things away in the back of that shed, a bit like a young Einstein sort of movie. You remember he sort of came out of the shed, with that sort of similar look on his face. Look at this thing I've created. And really what we were looking for then was a beer that really would capture what drinking beer in this part of the world was all about.
Can I just understand that? Because so you've left your corporate jobs, you've gone and said, we're starting a brewery in Byron, we are going to get some real estate and get all the plant and equipment going. At that point, you are yet to actually identify your flagship brew?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Is that not us about, or am I missing something?
No, that's pretty typical in brewing. I mean,
a passionate brewer. You're all bloody artists, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, we backed ourselves that we would be able to brew good beer. Brad was a very well-renowned brewer and had been a beer judge all around the world, and he could see what was going on in the industry in terms of flavour evolution and all that sort of stuff, and ingredients coming to the fore, new hop varieties being grown, etc. So no, we always knew that we were going to brew what styles of beer we were going to brew. We certainly knew that. And in between the equipment being designed and it arriving, we were able to fine-tune what the beer was going to be before the kit was put together, and we were able to start brewing.
Jamie, I promised my listeners I wouldn't get too gushy because I'm a bit of a Stone and Wood fanboy, but just tell us about that moment when you realised that was the beer that was going to launch the brand.
Yeah, it goes back to probably the idea that that beer was trying to tap into as the key thing, I guess. We could have just knocked around and created a beer that we all love the flavour of, but it was more about that beer needed to fulfil an idea, and that idea was that the occasion, that classic Byron occasion where you've been swimming at Main Beach, you walk across the beach into the beer garden and have that first beer as the salt water's drying on your back, and that refreshing moment. And that's what we wanted to brew a beer for. So all our focus was on producing a beer that fulfilled that occasion. And when Brad eventually, was happy enough with the beer that he wanted to show us, it certainly, this was in his shed in Eureka, it was very close to what we wanted, and we thought, wow, this is going to be close to the money. Of course, brewing in a 50-litre little home kit at home is going to be different to brewing at 2,500 litres a batch. So once we got the brewery and put it together, and the first brew that we put through, it was very, very close. It was about 85% right, we thought, and almost there. Those hops were starting to come through beautifully. Those great fruity hops that really sort of sing that beer. And then we made a few tweaks, and then the second brew that came through, we stood around the table in the kitchen of the brewery and tasted this beer and went, yep, that's it. Step away from the car driver. Step away from the car driver. Do not touch that recipe. Do not touch that formulation. That is exactly it. It was a great moment. But that was a great moment for us.
Mate, I've got hairs. The hairs on the back of my neck are standing up, because one of the things that we can all learn from that, I mean, you're talking about a beer recipe, but what you are also talking about is a very creative decision and a very subjective decision, and a decision that could determine whether putting your house on the line was a smart move or not. So for you guys, was it just like a no-brainer? You've gone, this is it. There is no decision, or were you feeling a little bit swirly in the guts about to make a big decision?
We really loved it. The challenge is we've been over drinking beer of various flavours and varieties for many years. The big challenge was...
So you just knew?
Well, it was a matter of how the everyday drinker was going to take up to it, because that big fruity hop character that punches you in the nose when you pick up a glass of Pacific Ale is different, and we coined the phrase the neck snap. I remember the first, couple of months standing in bars watching people walk away from the bar with spoons in their hand, and they'd hold the glass up to their nose and sort of head would snap back going, what the hell's that? And that is a positive, because it's certainly a memorable thing for drinkers, but also, it was a bit divisive. People didn't expect that in a beer, and therefore it took them a while to get used to it, to some people. Banging on doors and pubs and bottle shops around the country for the next 2 years. It wasn't easy. It was a hard slog.
Why? What was hard?
Well, here we were. The bottle shops and bars had enough beer. They've always had enough beer to sell. What's another brewery going to have to offer? Some guys that have set up shop in Byron Bay, a bunch of hippies. What? And this beer smells and tastes weird. Why would I want to stop that? All those classic rejections. But we just didn't take no for an answer. We just kept banging away. And Brad and Ross tell a story. Brad was brewing, Ross was out there selling, and Brad rang Ross one day and said, how's the weekly sales going? And Ross said, 2. And he said, what? 2 kegs? 2? He said, yeah, 2 kegs. What, for the day? No, for the week. And we're like, okay. 2 kegs for the whole week, that's not going to feed 3 families. It was one of those moments of, okay, we'll keep persisting here and we'll eventually get through, and that's what we did. We just kept wearing out the shoe leather.
How far into that was the 2 keg sale for the week? Was it a 6 months?
6 to 8 months in. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So it was all very well, words are cheap sometimes, Jamie. You just kind of keep wearing out the shoe leather. But is that what you really did? Did you ever kind of re-engineer your pitch? Did you sort of think, we've got to look at this a different way? We need to get, a fancy brochure. We need to do tape. Where was the tipping point where someone all of a sudden signed a big distribution contract?
No, it was probably just one glass at a time. In the beer game, there's lots of events where you can just get out and speak to people face to face, and you just got to go into bars. And when people walk up to a bar and you've got your beer on tap, you buy them a beer. That seems a bit weird. Some stranger buying you a beer in a bar, it can be a bit weird. But we were doing all those sorts of things, just introducing people to the beer, telling the story one glass of beer at a time, and slowly but surely that word of mouth spread to a point where it actually started to get some acceptance. And
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you've just got to do things that aren't scalable, right? I mean, buying individuals in pubs beers isn't very scalable, but that's what you did, and you knew at some point that there was going to be what I think Malcolm Gladwell termed the tipping point.
Yeah, that's right. I guess, and I've heard people say before, if someone hears about something from 2 or 3 sources, then, there's something obviously going on about it, and that's the power of word of mouth. A little bit of PR. We had some good connections in the sort of beer media, so to speak. So we got some good third-party endorsement as well. But slowly but surely, it started to fire.
You guys must have had some serious cash reserves to be able to kind of just bide your time.
Yeah, we'd have some cash, and that's one.
Or were you living off kale?
Yeah, well, I think one of the guys said, hopefully one day we can stop buying black and gold bread again and actually go down to the local baker and buy some decent sourdough. But I guess cash is a really interesting thing, particularly for corporate refugees who are so used to signing the invoice and sticking it in the out tray, and someone over in accounts takes care of that. Yep. To all of a sudden to have to worry about cash flow, that's probably one of the biggest shocks we had as corporate refugees. But we watched our pennies. We were doing almost weekly to daily cash flow projections at times to make sure that we could make ends meet. We had great suppliers. We really reached out to our suppliers who believed in us, and they helped us out in terms of trading terms. And to this day, they're still our suppliers, and we never forget those days where they really helped us out through that. So that's an important piece. But obviously in beer, one of the challenges of cash flow is we pay excise tax within 7 days of the beer leaving the brewery. So every Monday you have to pay excise, which relates to about 20% of the wholesale price of beer. You have to pay that to the ATO on the Monday for all the beer that's left the 7 days before. You might have only just moved it to a warehouse or into a wholesaler or to a retailer, but they probably aren't going to pay you for another 14 to 28 days.
Wow.
So that's a pretty hard thing on cash flow as well. But you just got to be very disciplined. Cash is one of those things you have to be really focused on.
Yeah.
We certainly had some tough times, but got through it. And once it started to fire, we couldn't hold on. It was demand we couldn't meet.
Well, tell us about that, not being able to hold on. Because I actually, before you do, because you operate in such a crowded marketplace, can you wrap some numbers for listeners around where you are at now, where Stone and Wood is at now, and then let's kind of backtrack to when the rocket ship took off. So can you talk revenue? Can you talk staff? Just somehow paint a picture of Stone and Wood's success today.
Sure. Yeah, I think from a revenue perspective, this year we'll do about $60 million in turnover. In volume, that sales volume, which is sort of the way in brewing industry we sort of measure things, we'll do around about 12 million litres of beer this year. And we have about 100 people in the Stone and Wood business now, permanent people, and so that sort of gives you an idea of scale within the 9 years of operating, I guess.
How does that make you feel?
Really, really comfortable. There's good people in there doing the things that we all tried to do and did from the start, but now there's a great team of people that really do the do every day and really make the business sing, and they're going to grow it going forward. So certainly gives you a sense of pride. But going back to that 2008, did we ever think we'd get to that? I guess we had some sort of vision that we'd like to be a strong regional brewer, and that meant serious volume and serious scale. The three of us going into business with three families means that you have to get scale. Otherwise, you're going to have three very core families. But if you want to grow the business and make it sing commercially, then you have to have scale in mind from day one, because you can't just have 3 families in something just to have a job.
No. How do you manage that? You've got you've got 2 partners, so there's three partners in the business. Each one of them, it sounds like, has wives. You guys must have had a really strong friendship before starting the business.
Yeah, that's a question we get asked a lot, and I think, yes, we were friends. I think the differentiator is, though, that we were workmates. And I think that's a big thing to think about when you hear all the horror stories about people getting into business with their friends. And my sort of advice to people is, mate, is if you never work with somebody, you don't really see a whole side of their life. And just because they behave the way they do with you as a friend, because they've known you over the years, is maybe not how they behave when they're in the workplace. So the fact that we'd worked together for a number of years before doing this, we knew how each other operated, how we operated, where our strengths were, where our weaknesses were. So we covered that pretty well, almost intuitively. And then make sure we've got some space outside, because we spend a lot of time together in the workplace. You need to have some space outside of that. So it's getting that right balance. But certainly, the family sort of stuck by us. There was some rolling of eyes, I'm sure, in behind the scenes for a long while. But
Now, let's talk about remaining independent, Jamie, because I went into a Dan Murphy's a couple of months ago. For overseas listeners, Dan Murphy's is the biggest beer and wine retailer in Australia. They don't stock it. You have refused to kind of go down the path of selling out to a big brewery chain like a Carlton and United or whatever. What's the Japanese one, Sapporo or any of those? Kieran, you have remained fiercely independent and fiercely local. What does that mean, and why have you done it?
It goes back to the vision we had to start with about that strong village brewery concept and being a regional brewer. And so that was the first thing, is we've built a business now that the community can be proud of. They're also seeing the benefit of, because, we employ 100 people locally, and therefore, it's not just our families anymore that rely on the business. It's 100 families out there that rely on the business, and the flow-on effect of that in the region is massive. When we first started to outgrow our original brewery site, we looked at how we were going to cope with that increasing demand, and we could have just gone and had our beer contract brewed like some of our peers have done over the years, and had someone else worry about producing the beer in some other part of the country. But we didn't do that. We said, well, no, we wanted to be true to what we were and be very authentic about business, and also continue to support the region. So we built a bigger brewery here in the Northern Rivers, knowing that reinvesting that money back into the local region is going to continue to pay off and continue to help support the region. So really, we're a regional brewer where we've got a lot of stakeholders in the region. So selling out isn't something that really something we're going to be too concerned about when we see the strength of the team and the reliance they have on the business and the emotional connection they have with the business. It's why would you want to leave 100 people high and dry? Because if you sold it, the next thing that would happen is they'd close the brewery and move that production volume to somewhere else, and it's just not part of what we're about.
The pure capitalist in me can't help but ask, what does that cost you and your partners? Because your $60 million turnover, your 12 million litres could quite easily, I don't know, you've probably done the numbers, the what-ifs. Could it be $600 million turnover and 12,000 million litres if you have chosen not to remain independent and local?
Yeah, look, that's a really good question. There's a number of ways to approach that. The first one is, I guess, about how fast you grow, and we have grown pretty quickly and put a lot of strain on the team over the years, and probably for the last 18 months or so, we've actually put the brakes on and slowed the business growth down. 4 years ago, when our demand was at its peak, we could have done what a lot of businesses do. They would have gone to the market, floated it, raised capital, built a massive brewery and chased that demand as crazily as they could have to grow the enterprise value. That's not a model we're interested in. It's about smart growth for us, and putting too much pressure on the team, the brand, all of those things by going and chasing that big dollar isn't something we think is going to build a sustainable business for the long term. And also the type of business you want to own and you want to be part of. We love the scale of 100 people. It could probably grow a little bit more. But you don't want to probably get too big where you lose that personal connection with the people. You can walk through the business and know everybody's name, who their partners and wives are, their kids, what they're into out of work. All those sort of things are really important to us. So that's the key part of it. As long as the business is providing us with the things that we look for, and it's great to have a nice income, but also the connection with people in the business, the lifestyle that this industry can provide. It's a great industry to be in. What other industry can you actually say I'm jumping on a plane and flying to Denver in a couple of weeks to do some research into beer and then head off to DC for a conference and that sort of stuff, and have to drink beer every day to as part of the trip.
I love it, mate. So what you're sort of saying is like, it comes almost down to that question of how much is enough. You've created a wonderful business. You love your product. You're employing 100 people in the community. You're supporting their families. You can only drive so many Ferraris, right?
Well, that's exactly it. Yeah, and we're not that sort of people. We drive pretty simple cars. We live in pretty simple houses. For us, it's. And, part of our motto for some time has been keep it simple, less is more, that sort of stuff, and take it slow. And we're really into that stuff. It's
Have you had many of the big boys knocking on your door with rather large checkbooks?
Oh, the big novelty checks are probably out there. And we have had conversations over the years of people trying to, wave big novelty checks under our noses. But the reality is, you look back at what you've created, and you just can't see. You just can't see that as a future for the people in the business. And also, what the hell would we do? You got to do something right. So you might as well run a brewery. You might as well run a brewery in Byron Bay. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, it could be worse. It could be a lot worse. Tell me, you have a very strong focus on stakeholders. You have a program called Ingrained. Is this one and the same? Or
No, there's a few things going on there. So stakeholders is something that we've sort of started from a couple of years into the business when the three of us had a team day, and we said we need to get the whole team together and talk about planning for the next 12 months. And then we realised there were 16 people in the business, and we went, bloody hell, where did all these people come from? So that sort of woke us up to the fact that, the vision and the dream of three guys quitting their corporate gigs and going to work start a business in Byron Bay is a great dream for us. But what about these 16 people? What motivates them to come to work every day to bring our dream to life? That's not a really great thing for them. So we had to really start thinking about what the purpose of the business could be. That is something that was motivating and aspirational for our team and not just us. So we started developing a sort of a purpose approach to things, and so the idea of building a sustainable brewing business that really actively develops and nurtures and embraces and adds value to its stakeholders, and those stakeholders being, the communities around the brewery and the community we've built. So the team, the suppliers, the drinkers, the customers, our shareholders. We've got a number of small shareholders that we've brought along the way, the environment and the community. So all of those stakeholders, all those stakeholders are an important part of what we do. So when we make big decisions these days, we go back to that and go, well, where's the value that's going to be created for all of our stakeholders if we're going to do this? So it's a really nice litmus test in terms of the way we develop our strategy and the way we develop the business. And Ingrained is the program that we...
Before, hold your thought on Ingrained. I'm just going to challenge you on it. I know I'm going to lose the challenge, Jamie, but you and I have been in corporate, mate. You and I have heard things like stakeholder engagement and, all those motherhood statements. How does the rubber hit the road at Stone and Wood Brewery when it comes to making sure that all those stakeholders you just mentioned really do see value from a decision you make?
Yeah, so a lot of printers come and try and sell, undercut our current suppliers, and we go, well, look, at the end of the day, we could save a hell of a lot of money by moving to this new printer. But when we look at our current supplier, they've been with us from day one. They've been providing great service and loyalty all the way. When we're in trouble, they bail us out. They have been a brilliant part of our business from day one. But we've added value to them. They've added value to us as we've grown. So why would we make a short-term decision to go and move to another supplier when these guys have just been doing a great job for us?
Love it. Love it.
And there's time and time again things like that, and that's the way we try and evaluate decisions. It's the impact it has on each of those stakeholders. Yeah, you could put brass plaques on the wall around the place and have mission statements, all that sort of stuff, but you've actually got to look and read it. That's part of the difference. When in a big corporate where you've got thousands of people, it goes back to that thing I mentioned earlier about having 100 to 150 people. There's scale there, and you can really make sure that people understand what you're trying to do.
Love it, mate. Tell me, beer is a crowded marketplace. Craft beer in particular, there's boutique breweries popping up. Almost, it feels like, in every suburb these days. There's some pretty crook ones, but there's some pretty good ones. How do you remain top of mind in such a crowded marketplace?
Great question. Yeah, there's probably, when we started out, there were 58 breweries in Australia. There's now nearly 500.
Wow.
And there's one opening almost every week at the moment. So there is a lot of clutter out there. I mean, 500 breweries is, when you put that in perspective, there's 2,500 wineries in Australia. So there's, not quite as cluttered as the wine market. Mm-hmm. But I think that the way you stay ahead of that clutter and keep your head out of the clutter is actually firstly scale. So we've grown big enough to be able to probably stay ahead of that big cluster of small brewers out there. So what that means is that we've got a brand with strong loyalty, awareness and trial, and that actually has throughput through bars and bottle shops for us, so our products sell off the shelf. Mm-hmm. And we work hard to make sure we've got a very good connection with our drinkers.
How do you do that? That's from a straight line connection from brewery to your drinkers. Is there one particular tip that you can share that allows you to do that?
Yeah, social media, I think, is a huge enabler. And we look at social media. When we first started back in 2008, I think those social media platforms have been around. Certainly, some of Instagram wasn't around. Facebook was only just starting off, I think, but to be used by businesses anyway. So we were able to get in from day one and started the journey of building followers and likers through social media platforms. And we've always been very active, very engaged with the people that follow us. If you look at our engagement ratings, they're very high. Not that we try and chase engagement, it's more about just that dialogue that's important to us. So certainly social media has been a massive enabler for us, and I've always sort of thought that social media gives you the ability to go back out and talk to your drinkers one-on-one, whereas if that didn't exist, we would have to be doing things like spending a lot of money on advertising or PR and all those sort of traditional things to try and get out there and engage with our drinkers. So social media was a big one. The other one was beer festivals. There's beer festivals in every major town now in Australia every year, and they're a great way once again, to get in front of your drinkers and talk to them, tell them a story, pick their brains in terms of what they like to drink, what they don't like to drink, all those sorts of things. Right. So social media was a big enabler. But the brand is probably the big one. We've always been focused on brand.
What does that mean?
Well, a brand is how people connect emotionally with you. So what we find is a lot of the smaller brewers tend to be very focused on brewing beer and relating to their drinkers on a rational level. So this beer is brewed with these hops, with this malt, comes from this style of brewing, therefore it should taste like that. And it's a very rational. I mean, there is a group of drinkers out there.
Oh yeah, wankers, wankers.
Yeah, well, well, there's not many of them, but thank God. But we've always thought about beer as being, the enabler of conversation, not the topic of conversation. So that's the challenge for some of the small brewers is they don't really think about how their brand is different in the marketplace, what it stands for, what position it takes in people's minds, those sorts of things. So we've always been focused very much on having a strong brand, one that's well differentiated, people are very clear about what it stands for, and it's very aspirational, and I think the whole holiday thing at Byron has been a part of that. The holiday in a bottle is a key part of what Pacific Ale is all about, is people drink that bottle of Pacific Ale and it transports them back to the holiday they had or wish they had in Byron Bay.
I love it. We talk a lot on this show about storytelling, Jamie, and your storytelling for Stone and Wood is exactly that. You talk about coming off the beach, you talk about coming together with mates. Given that beer has a run-up start, it's an easy story to tell. It's harder if we're talking about, paint, for example. But I think every brand, and it sounds like you'd agree, every product or service needs to build a brand, and every brand, one of the pillars should be storytelling. So I love what you're doing there, mate. Exactly. Listen, wrapping things up, I could keep talking to you forever. In fact, I wish I had a Stone and Wood handy, but it's only 10:48 in the morning, so
5 o'clock somewhere.
Exactly right. Hey, just finally, I've always finished with 5 quick questions, completely unrelated to what we've been talking about. But before we get there, you talked about growth, you talked about incredible growth, you talked about putting the brakes on 12 months ago. What's one tip that you could give to our listeners about when they are experiencing extraordinary growth?
I think you've got to watch the strain that it puts on your people. And growing too fast means that you're putting your team under a lot of pressure. They're probably operating on the edge, so to speak. You're potentially making decisions a bit quicker than you really want to be. And to cope with that growth, you're probably bringing people in that may not be the right fit for your business. But they've got the skills you need at the time, and if you want to continue to grow at that rate, then you need those skills. And also the financial strain of rapid growth. Growth chews up cash very quickly. Growth can be great, but it can also cripple your business.
Yeah. See that time and time again. One last question before we get into the 5 quickies. Where did the name Stone and Wood come from?
Naming a beer is worse than naming your kids. It's such a difficult job to try and come up with a name. It really taps into the elemental aspect of brewing. Brewing, is very much around natural raw ingredients and, sort of got that same sort of 5 elements feel of air, water, etc. Earth, and Stone and Wood sort of tapped into that for me. Byron's a very natural, earthy, grounded place, so Stone and Wood sort of once again tapped into that. And then as part of that, we actually brew a beer once a year called Stone Beer, which we brew. We heat stones up over a wood fire until they're red hot and tip them in the brew kettle to boil the brew. That's the way brewers used to brew before steam and electricity. So that's a nice little way of, once again, going back to your point about storytelling. It's a way of bringing the story of Stone and Wood to life. It taps into the medieval way of brewing as well.
Given you're based in Byron, did you ever consider Stoned and Wood, or was that completely inappropriate?
No, there's a lot of people that, when we first started to see that neck snap I mentioned earlier, people were starting to, because it has a very familiar aroma to it.
It does.
People thought we might have been putting something like that in the beer, but
love it.
No, we get all sorts of comments about Stoned or Wood.
Oh well,
all sorts of stuff,
yeah. You'd set yourself up for it. Okay, 5 quickies. Here we go. Number 1, who do you admire the most?
Oh wow, I admire business leaders that grow their businesses in a way where they bring the people along for the ride and they nurture and improve the talent in their team, where the leader isn't actually out the front leading the charge. They're actually leading from behind.
Yeah, gotcha. Lovely answer. What's on top of your bucket list?
My bucket list at the moment is riding a motorbike in the Alps, which I hope to do this northern summer.
Wow.
Through some of those massive high passes in the European Alps.
Lovely, mate. What's the first thing you did when you got up this morning?
First thing when I got up this morning was open my eyes and went, I'm awake. That's a good thing. That's a good start.
I'm alive.
Yeah, no. The brain turns on pretty quickly. My head doesn't stop thinking, unfortunately. My wife tells me that regularly, that, I continue to, my brain's like a machine. It's just when I'm awake, I'm thinking.
Are you a poor sleeper?
I only probably sleep about 5 hours a night, probably, is that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
And you get by with that, obviously?
Yep.
Good on you. Who's the most famous person you've ever met?
I think I met this bloke at a Telstra event a couple of weeks ago. He runs a marketing podcast.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, excellent question. Let me just mark that one. 10 out of 10. Right. And last question. When were you left speechless? Oh, that's a leading question. When you met that bloke at the Telstra event. Very good.
Exactly.
Hey, Jamie. Mate, thank you for Stone and Wood. I can say that not as just someone who appreciates great business, great brand building, great business leadership, but I've been drinking that stuff for a number of years now, and I remember my first neck snap, and I still get it. I still get excited. I get disappointed when I can't find it all the way down here in Melbourne, and I get very excited when I can get my hand on a glass. So well done, buddy, for bringing it to market, and I wish you guys all the success in the future.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Jamie Cook, one of the co-founders of Stone and Wood, the largest privately owned brewery in Australia. If you haven't tried their Pacific Ale, don't know what's stopping you. Maybe you don't like beer. I don't know. Hey, coming up, I share my top 3 attention grabbers from that fireside chat with Jamie. Plus, I've got another low-cost marketing idea for you that I think you're going to love. But first, here's a little something to create more freedom in your business. Support for this show comes from Cornerstone, an Aussie-owned, family-run offshoring business based in the Philippines. You know, one of the great fears business owners have about offshoring is whether the people are suitably qualified, which may be a little unfounded. I asked Cheska, Cornerstone's marketing manager, to share her background.
I was a consistent university scholar. I was a president's lister and a consistent college scholar as well. So I graduated magna cum laude. And
that's where the high five right there.
Yeah, I know. You've been waiting for that, Timbo.
Yeah. That was a build-up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I graduated magna cum laude and I ranked second in the whole university.
Cornerstone, where the idea of employing someone smarter than yourself is not just encouraged, but welcomed with open arms. Start working smarter now and employ a virtual marketing assistant. Visit cornerstonebusinesssolutions.com.au or give them a call on 02 9083 6689 and tell them Timbo sent you. Do you enjoy that little ad from Cornerstone? It's a bit of a laugh, isn't it? All right, my top 3 attention grabbers from my chat with Jamie Cook of Stone and Wood. Thanks to the good guys at Cornerstone. Attention grabber number 1, the neck snap. I love that phrase and the thinking behind it. People ask me, how do I know if my podcast is making a difference? And I always say I look for emotional language in the emails you listeners send me and the reviews you leave on iTunes. I particularly like it when you use words like addictive or love. Then I know I'm making a difference. So what signal do you look for from customers that confirms you're onto something special? Great question to ask. Jamie talks about the neck snap. Attention grabber number 2. Add value to all your stakeholders. You see, in a world of sameness, I think this is a huge differentiator. So many business owners take their suppliers for granted, or ignore their local community, or don't even acknowledge the impact their business decisions may have on the environment. Jamie's inclusive approach is clearly creating a business people want to work for and suppliers want to supply. Attention grabber number 3, I love Jamie's unwavering focus on the B word, brand. I love the question Jamie is constantly asking, which is, how can we get people to connect emotionally with our brand? So guys, please ask yourself this question, then action the ideas that come out of it. You'll build a brand in no time. What grabbed your attention, team? Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/355 and let me know.
What have you got to lose?
Oh, you know what that means? It is time for one simple yet effective marketing idea that you can implement immediately. One that won't cost you a fortune, if anything, and that might just generate you more awareness, more inquiry, and ultimately more sales. I call today's idea the Stayin Alive content strategy. Stayin Alive, Stayin Alive. Tip number one, if you're a podcaster, don't sing, unless you can sing, which I can't. Now, you're regularly creating helpful content, right? The type I talk about in my book, The Boomerang Effect. Content that helps your precious customers make a more informed purchase decision. Content that ensures you rank well on Google. Content that positions you as a key person of influence. Well done, if you are. If you want to optimize that content so that it doesn't get lost in the haystack that is the internet, then it's time to start repurposing it into other forms that you can share on other sites. This is what I call the Stayin Alive content strategy, and it will extend the life of your best content, giving you more bang for your buck and getting it in front of new audiences and essentially buyers, right? It also respects the fact that different people consume information differently. Some like to read, some like to listen, some like to watch. So here's my 3 steps to your helpful content Stayin Alive strategy. Step number 1, pick one of your best pieces of helpful content. Let's say it's a video that's had the most views, comments, or shares. Step 2, make a plan for repurposing that video into at least 3 new pieces of helpful content. You could extract the audio using iSkySoft Video Converter. You could then have that audio transcribed at GoTranscript and turned into a series of written blog posts. You could then pick short quotes from the transcription and design them into social media posters using Canva for Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Instagram. Step 3, publish your new pieces of repurposed helpful content, sharing them with your social media followers, email list, and with individuals who you know will benefit from them. And here's the pro tip. Revisit the original piece of helpful content you repurposed and update it to include links to the new content. You'll find links to any resources I mentioned over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/355, including a list of 40 ways to repurpose your blog content. And if you'd like help implementing any of the marketing ideas I share in this segment, and there's been plenty, go ahead and join the Small Business Big Marketing Club over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, where I will personally support your daily marketing journey. So, what have you got to lose? Righto, team. That almost wraps up another episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show. But don't fret. You're probably not fretting. There's plenty more marketing gold coming your way in the weeks ahead, including a chat with one of Australia's leading advertising creatives who's going to explain where big ideas come from and how you and I can harness them. Plus plenty more. Hey, many moons ago, I spoke with Mr. Motivation himself and my personal mentor, Keith Abraham, who prior to finding his reason for being was a council worker. In fact, a weed inspector, to be specific. Now he's literally one of Australia's leading motivational speakers. Here's Keithy talking about the moment his life changed for the better.
And we're out in the middle of the bush, and all of a sudden, on the last day, a guy stood up and said, here's what we'd like you to do. We'd like you to write down 100 things you want to do in your lifetime. And I thought I can do that, because I've had a whole week of people telling me I can be anything, do anything, have anything, or achieve anything. And so I'm suitably pumped up, fired up, jacked up and revved up. And I sit under this shady tree with a clipboard. And I thought, I've got this mastered, I can do this. And I wrote down 6 things and I stopped and I thought, geez, life's going to be short.
You meant to write 100?
I had to write down 100. And the 7th thing I wrote down, now they gave us 90 minutes to do this. The 7th thing I wrote down in 90 minutes was finish this list. It took me 6 weeks to finish it. I'm on to my 8th list. And to date, Tim, I have been showing people how to start their list of 100. So this is 30 years ago I've been doing this now for. Getting people to help them discover what's important, what matters, and what makes a difference in their life. And to understand that passion is only one component of it. That when you start talking about passion, you need to talk about purpose, you need to talk about plan, and you need to talk about progress.
Now that right there is a man on a mission. As he tells anyone who'll listen, when your why becomes clear, the how will find you. If you'd love to discover how to harness your passion, then take a listen to that full interview with Keith Abraham. Plus, there's hundreds more over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com or subscribe free on iTunes. I'd love you to do that. Hey, I'd also love to hear from you. Send us an email, tim@timreid, reid.com.au, or hit me up on Twitter at TimboReid. Be sure to check out Cornerstone if the idea of reducing your running costs by 70+% excites the hell out of you. Or if you want to come on my 4th Create Freedom Through Outsourcing tour to the Philippines in May 2017, I'd love to see you there. smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/tour. You'll find all the information. If you loved the Small Business Big Marketing Show, then let another business owner know about it who could do with a little bit of marketing love. Maybe go and grab their phone and download it for them. Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. Thanks for tuning in. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.